I'd much prefer to be out here than sitting in a fucking office, man. I hate that. These are real deal, you know, as real as it gets, right? Like, nobody went up there and made that or anything like that. That's what real wind damage looks like. Very unlikely over here because of these just trees, but do you see a crease?
A little bit.
Well, we want to make sure whatever we got, we can argue visually with photos. Right? So I want you to think about this whole thing as if you're building
a case.
Okay, that's literally what we're doing, right? So like everything we have, the burden and the preponderance of evidence is on us, right? What are my concerns with each one of these? Everything that we do is a possibility to help our case, right? Did you get a good picture of the flashing?
Yep.
Make sure, like, okay, I got a picture of the flashing here. Let's get a picture of the flashing on the side here. Look, you can see it stepped here, so it may not be. These are individually stepped flashing pieces. That's how it is. You see the break in it?
Yep.
So each one of those is a single L piece about 4 inches, 2 inches here, 2 inches here. And they just slide them in, slide them in, slide them in, just like this, right? And are these curb mount or deck mount, right? I can't see the curb. They're pretty damn thick, so if I had to guess, I'd actually guess these were deck mount. So what does that mean? If I pull these skylights off, there's nothing but a hole in this, actually. So the problem with these old school gutters, pins work their way out over time, right? And these are old, right? 2, 3 inch. I mean, somebody's even come in here and doped up right here or dropped a little piece here, but these gutter pins work their way out over time. And then once you start to see something like this, and you've got a honey-do list where you're having Mr. Jones go out front on a 20-foot ladder and having to get these nailed back in, look how easy this is. Right? These come in and out just as easy. They work their way out and you create a hole in the wood, right, from the original gutter pin, but every time you nail it back in and it works its way out, that hole gets bigger and bigger and bigger and looser and looser and looser to the point where it's just, that's when you see your gutters start to fall off. And you're like, I put them back up, there's nothing, it's got nothing to grab, right? So what's the solution here? The permanent solution. Permanent solution, tear these off and go and put on, while we're at it, a 5 or 6 inch gutter, because that's standard today. We're gonna put a seamless gutter on. The solution gutter, right, that's going to be affixed directly to the fascia with a clip on the back and a clip on the front of the fascia, back of the gutter that locks into place. And so you can go up here and, well, you wouldn't do that, but it's not coming off, right? This, solid, right? So, looked, I mean, you know, you see shingle granule loss there, but these things are still sealed. The wind's blowing there. I see one here. Let's see. Gotta be kidding me. Oh no, we're good, we're good, we're good. See? Now you gotta be careful how much you lift this up, lest they like blame you for it, right? But see how it's not sealed? I'm not lifting this up past a 45-degree angle to create what you see here, which is what, if they were to say mechanical, would be what they would be insinuating. There's one there. Yeah, see? See how it's flapping up like that? You would think it has to be because, I mean, for it to be split like that, like where did it come from?
That one's gonna go next.
And you can see, look right here. There's a little small split right here. Yeah, look. See it?
Yep.
If it is in fact wind, which makes sense, it's coming up and it's grabbing the corners of these. That's exactly, you know what I mean? And just starting to, here's one, here's one, here's one. See?
Yep.
And again, notice I'm not lifting it above 45 degrees. At your eaves, if you count here, we know we've got another, you gotta be careful not to lift up too much, but we've got one here, and we'll look again once we get onto the ladder. I feel 3 layers. Now we've got starter shingles. So if we tore this whole thing off and got down to the roof deck, first thing we put on is the starter shingle along the eaves. And depending on the product, you might run it up on the rake as well, right? GAF requires it to go all the way around the perimeter. Technically, the first thing you would be putting on is drip edge, but that's not a roof component. That's just Maryland building standards or Midwest building standards, right? So it's drip edge, then the roof components, right? We're building a case. First thing we're trying to find is, do we have enough evidence to take the case? If we can find enough evidence to trigger their insurance to buy anything, right? Like if we find enough evidence for them to repair and say, okay, there's storm damage here. That's the start of the game. That's the very first thing, like, okay, now we have something to work with. Too many guys get in the habit of getting out here and tearing people's roofs apart because they think that a no is a no, when in fact, we're just looking to get our foot in the door. We can get them, they're much more likely to work with and say, okay, like we got a couple things here, sure, we'll patch 6 shingles. But that's not gonna go for us, right? We want this whole lady's roof replaced. So even though we only have a couple on the front, a few on the back, a few back here, if we can get them to open up that coverage, and there's 3 layers on this, that goes against code. We cannot patch shit on this roof. There's no other layer that can go back up here. It's got to be torn off. As a general contractor in the state of Maryland, we've got to bring things up to code. Either way, this customer is like, they need a roof. Yeah. I mean, bad. This customer here is out of option. They have no other choice, period, right? Like they can't, even if they want to buy a roof, they can't do a layover. They've got to strip it all down. The cheap way, they're out of options, right? The patches don't work. We can show her, look, guys, we can patch some more, but as you can see here, every time you patch, you cause the ones around it to fail, right? See how we showed you here? So you can't patch, you can't add another layer. We got to tear this down and restart. Yep. This roof, save, just absolutely can't afford it, can't pay for it, doesn't have credit. There's no excuse for this roof not being bought no matter what. Whether it's right this second or tomorrow, we're gonna sell this roof.